Hello, my name is Susan Hewitt and I'm a naturalist and I volunteer at Carl Schurz Park. Most people come to Carl Schurz Park to look at all the beautiful flowering plants, and they really are wonderful. But I wanted to introduce people a little bit to a group of organisms that you can call lower plants, and that includes algae, fungi, lichens, mosses and ferns. They don't all belong together in one group. A lot of them are different kingdoms. And for example, fungi are actually more closely related to humans like you and me than they are related to flowering plants. Most people know a little bit about what fungi are because they're familiar with mushrooms. Now what we're looking at here, it's called turkey tail because of the pretty stripes on it, the pretty brown and cream stripes. Like all three of the mushrooms I'm going to be showing you, this lives on dead wood. This is a cut up log that it's growing out of. One of the principal roles of fungi in the ecosystem is to break down things like logs, to decompose them. Now I'm going to pick one of these off and show you the underside, because the underside of turkey tail has many, many tiny pores in it. Now this fungus looks quite a lot like turkey tail. However, if I break a piece of this off, you should be able to see that this has no pores. So what this is actually is the false turkey tail. The other one is Trametes, this one is Sterium, that's the generic name. And this is the lumpy bracket. It's white and it has a lumpy surface, and it's much thicker than the other two fungi we were looking at. And this lumpy bracket is interesting because it's an introduced species. This is just one of the green algae. Now most people would think algae and they'd think of seaweed, but there are also terrestrial green algae that will live wherever there's some degree of damp. So they'll live on this rock surface because the rainwater percolates down over it. It looks as if somebody just poured green dye over the rock surface, or very dilute green paint. This appearance here, it looks dusty and crumbly, and if you touch it, it is actually a little dusty and crumbly. This is a dust lichen, Lepraria. A lichen is at least two organisms living together. On the outside is a fungus, and on the inside is an alga. Lepraria is one very common genus of dust lichen. Okay, now this beautiful yellow stuff is a lichen called the candle flame lichen. It's an encrusting lichen, and earlier in the year this whole entire wall was bright yellow with this lichen. This is the one lichen that anybody can identify, even if you're whizzing past on one of the transverses through Central Park and you look on the wall and it's all covered in this yellow stuff, you can say that's candle flame lichen, and you're almost certainly correct. So now when it comes to ferns, we're talking about wild ferns, and this one is called blunt woodsia, and it's the most common wild fern species in New York City. It's very pretty and it can grow in almost any little crevice. This species of fern is the second most common wild fern in New York City. It's called ebony spleenwort, and it's called ebony because the stems of the leaves are very dark, like a very dark brown, almost black. Okay, most people are also probably a little bit familiar with mosses. This particular moss is called seductive entodon moss, and it looks rather like, if anybody can remember chenille bedspreads, it looks like the tassels on a chenille bedspread. Very silky looking form, soft and silky. So the next time you come to Carl Schurz Park, don't just look at the big pretty flowers, but also spare a thought for the small interesting things. Thank you.